This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to the Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast since 2015. And we are here in the fine studios of Pod Populi, Podcast for the People. I'm at the one this week in Scottsdale, Arizona. And Scottsdale is a Latin word that means surface of the sun, because it's about 1,000,000 degrees here. They say it's going to cool off soon. I don't know about that. I have some guests I'm going to bring in here in a minute because they're going to help me out with what we're doing today. Last week and the week before, I put out a APB asking you guys to, I said it was time for a new fresh batch of listener letters, but I want to do a spin on it this time. And we've done listener letters episodes on the ones we want to date, and we have done ones on ones we really hate, and we have done listener letters about ones we're secretly thinking about and ones that aren't that great. We've done every sort of incarnation of this. Summer lovin' we did, holiday mailbags, we've done them all. I asked you guys to send us the one that got away. So this is the one that got away mailbag. And so we got more submissions than almost anything we put a request out for, which makes me kind of sad. That means a lot have gotten away. But I suppose if you date enough, ones are going to get away. And, you know, we do realize, spend a lot of time thinking about the big fish that we caught. And some of you guys put that in your dating profile pics. But you probably spent a lot of time thinking about the one that got away, the one you couldn't quite reel in, or the one that wiggled off the hook. So to help me with this sort of complicated subject matter, I have 3 people here who on their podcast deal with some even more complicated subject matter. He has been on this show before, and to great fanfare. You guys liked having him on, and you had a lot more questions on. So I might have him back on again to talk about what he talks about on his podcast. He is the host of the Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. Marcus, how are you?
It's actually the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is. So there are quite a few. And his lovely co-hosts that he has on his show, this is their first time on my show. So they're giving me this look like they're not quite sure what they're getting into. We've got Kimmy.
Hi, everyone.
And we've got Lily.
Hello.
I had a question for you before we started, not to turn this all into the sugar daddy mailbag. A sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship, you can have exclusivity.
You can.
You have to request it. You have to pay more for it. What are the boundaries? Is it platinum VIP? Is that just a negotiation? What is that?
I think it would be a mutual decision based on what both parties are wanting out of that relationship. What do you guys think?
Personally, I think that most sugar dating becomes normal. Like, it becomes a normal relationship because we're all human. We have feelings. And
right.
So it can happen many times. I mean, you know, I almost married a sugar daddy that was started as an arrangement, but then within like a week,
feelings get involved.
There were feelings. I moved in. It was more so like roles.
But then he's like, why am I paying you? You're my girlfriend.
Well, he didn't want me to have a job. He wanted me to be home, and it was just kind of like you have a stay-at-home wife, or you have a stay-at-home mom. It's kind of like a structured way to kind of like get into that sometimes, or maybe just chivalry. Like, some men like to pay bills, and they're like, you just keep your own money, and I just want to take care of you. It doesn't have to. But it could also be very contractual, and like you can have a contract and. Or just be like, this is what you're going to do, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to see other people. Yeah,
there's a lot of cut and dry, and there's a lot of gray area, just like all relationships. Thoughts on that? On exclusivity?
It's definitely something you have to talk about. I purposely don't talk about it because I don't want it. But if there is...
You don't want it?
No.
I do want it.
Why would I be cornered into one flavor of ice cream?
That's a different show. We'll talk about the sugar
That's where we
baby that
differ.
got away.
'Cause
I know. I mean,
I would like it if I found the right person.
that
but I
is.
just haven't.
I've heard, and that's not just like a sexist male thing. I've heard lots of women say that very, very same thing. All right, this is the Baskin Robbins podcast. Please subscribe. All right, we are going to get into the one that got away mailbag, and like I said, you guys sent a ton of these. We picked a half dozen just because, and these were ones that not necessarily were the most titillating. It's just that they kind of covered some ground that I think, a lot of people have probably been involved in that. So the first one, this is from Ben from Chicago. Hi, for me, the one that got away was really the one. We were dating after college, and I was probably partying too much, hanging out too much with my friends, and really just drinking too much. She asked me to choose her or what she called, quote unquote, the nonsense. And I thought, I'm too young to be fenced in. And I thought it was crazy of her to ask. 15 years later, I still think about her. I still miss her. She's married, and it isn't to me.
Aww.
I get it from her point of view, but that's also tough 15 years ago. I don't know how old he is. It was right after college. That's when you should be having fun.
That is when you should be having fun.
And, you know, if he wasn't having the fun then, and say they settled down, at some point he was going to want the fun.
Right.
He was going to want to
Agreed.
make up for that lost time. It's tough because, you know, a lot of times these men or women get out of long-term marriages or relationships, and they're like, I need to make up for the 20s that I lost because I was married the whole time, and then they go crazy.
Mm-hmm. I feel a little bit like that, and I'm in my 50s, but I partied plenty when I was in college, but then, you know, you get married, you have kids, and you settle down, and
But
now
the best
my
party
kids are grown
times
and
are
gone.
like 25 to 45. Those really are, and most of those
I
times,
don't
most people
know
spend
that I
married.
agree. I'm having the time of my life in my 50s.
You are, but you also
it's
don't
because
have
I'm
the,
not married.
No, and also you don't have the miles on you from doing it in your 20s and 30s like the rest of us. Like I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go out that late. But if I had been married in my 20s and 30s, I might be like, what time's last call? Let's make it. You know, thoughts? You're young.
Yeah, so I was in a serious relationship. I almost got married. I think that in these situations, you just never know how things will go. You know, personally, I would also have a one that got away story that was very recent and was very sad, but the reality of it, logically, what we don't understand is that you don't really know that person, and things might look wonderful even if you are dating them for 2 years and they get away. But most of these situations, you don't really know their bad side. You have an idea of
That's
them.
a really good point. And he's looking at this girl through the prism of she was awesome because I was also having so much fun in my life and I didn't spend that much time with her and she seemed great during the, so it might have been, that's the caveat on all of these. The one that got away, you don't know how many forks in the road would have come up. But yeah, she was probably the one you went to when you were hungover or you were tired and she probably seemed great. Marcus?
There's so many women out there, and there's. I'm just telling you, I've fallen in love. I've had heartbreaks. She's gotten married. She's off with another guy, and it hurts. But you move on. Time heals, and you just got to build yourself into a better person. You got to do the work. You can't sit there and cry about it. If you got feelings, type those into YouTube. There are so many relationship therapists and psychotherapists in there that will help you resolve those feelings and become a better, stronger person. So when you meet the next girl who's going to be amazing,
right,
and maybe even more fulfilling, you're going to be a better person at the end of it.
Right. And if you could, wave your magic wand and suddenly this girl would not be married and you had a chance, she's different and you're different, Ben, and life is different and who knows? So to work yourself up 15 years later over pain from this, you guys would most likely be divorced and fighting over custody right now. So
right. I fell in love really young. I was in my early 20s, and then she ended up getting married, and I got married. And then 8 years later, she was divorced. A few years later after that, I was divorced. We tried dating again. It was horrible. It was there was no way it would ever worked. And I just couldn't believe because I was so in love and so head over heels and heartbroken. when it ended. And when she got married, I was heartbroken. But then once we actually had that opportunity to get back together and date, it was a disaster.
I know, and that happens too. The one that you are in, usually in the most pain over, or it takes long to get over. There's going to be a point where you'll be like, "Oh my god, that's who I like." Like, what was I thinking of?
Exactly.
Like, you won't even think about them now, and you're wondering what all the fuss was about.
Yeah.
So, Ben, move along. It's 15 years later. Okay. All right, next one. This is from Lisa via our Facebook page. Brian, you mentioned on a prior podcast that you thought it was totally fine to date one of your friend's exes. I stand by that. I agreed with you because I had a chance to do that, and I didn't because of loyalty to my so-called friend. She turned out to be a total bitch. I can't believe I chose her over him. He's amazing. It was too good for her, and now I can't seem to find him, and I definitely blew it. I would have made him so happy. What are your thoughts on that, on dating a friend's ex? I think it's like
Lisa.
fair game.
I think it depends on the level of friendship. Like, my best friend, for sure, I would never date one of her exes.
Why?
And nor would she date one of mine.
But they broke up. It didn't work out. It's the discard pile. They're back in the pool.
But if you're going to have that person, your friend, in your life, and they're going to be around your significant other, it's just going to be awkward. You're going to feel like you're always separating your life. I couldn't do it.
Well, if he was fine with it, who cares?
If everyone was fine with it.
No, say she's not fine. Say the ex-friend is like, I don't want to be around him because I divorced him and he's an asshole and I just want to be around him. It's harder to find him than her. That's the way I look at it. It's harder to find the good guy who's for you than it is to find another girlfriend. That's my opinion.
No man I would choose over my best friend. Shout out to my best friend.
That's sweet.
Your best friend's not giving you cash.
My best friend, Jenny.
All
Personally,
right. What do you think about that? Would you date a friend?
I
friend's ex?
I wouldn't. And probably the reason why is because I think my friends choose the most weird, awful men, and I just don't even. There's never been a person.
But what about as an overall policy? Say they didn't choose the worst men. Do you think it's wrong to the friend? Do you think it's something you have to ask permission of the friend? Because some friends will be like, have at it.
What I'll say is time heals things, and I think that over time that it could be okay. Besides that, no, I think it's weird.
Okay.
I personally, there's a few people that I would be really heartbroken about if my friends were to date them. And there's people I haven't dated I would be heartbroken about. So
there's some women and some men do too. They'll be like, that was the one I was talking to, and you knew I liked them. Listen, all
That
fair and
happened to
love
me with
and war.
my sister. My sister and I one time liked the same guy, so we just decided to both not pursue it.
Well, I actually had a situation 20 years ago with my roommate, and we were friends. And I met my then wife through him. He liked her. We were out at a social event. He was talking to her. I walked up. I kind of liked what I saw from behind. I checked it out from the front, and it was great. And so,
Always verify from the front, guys.
Right, you always got to verify. But I really liked her, and then we continued that night, and I didn't know that he had a crush on her too. This story gets very interesting, actually. So we started dating. We eventually got married. I was actually at the tail end of a relationship for 2 years. This girl was out of country, and it was kind of fading. So I just kind of left that situation for the girl I'd eventually marry. About 6 months later, the girl that I let go was online dating, met my roommate, and they are happily married.
What?
Well, there you go.
Is that weird at all for you?
It was weird. It was weird, and the story continues. So my ex-wife and I built a house down in South Phoenix, right? We're at Blockbuster when they still existed, and we ran into them because they had lived down in that area too.
Oh,
so we had them over to the house, and my ex-wife, of course, didn't like her because she was my ex, and she had written me a note like, "Oh, I think you're the one that got away." One of those things, and it was in Spanish, so I had printed it out because I was going to translate it, and my ex-wife found it, who also speaks Spanish, and so it got to be
You and your type.
Marcus and his brown girl.
He loves Latinas.
Are there
But
I know.
But they met.
Proceed with caution with the Latinas.
Yeah, they met, they got along, and she ended up really liking her. But the story for them, it lived happily ever after.
Does that happen in the sugar daddy world?
This was long before that.
But is there a unwritten rule where if you know one of the guys and be like, no, don't she's part of my tribe? Is that the term? Is that the technological term? Tribe? Posse?
I mean, do we even touch on the story that happened today?
I mean, we can.
So
touch away.
Lily had brunch this morning with a gentleman, and she's telling me all about it. And she tells me his name, some specifics, and I like, that's Amy's sugar daddy. You just met with Amy's sugar daddy. So I call Amy, of course.
Mind blown. I was like, it can't be the same guy.
And I'm like, you just met, and he listens to our show,
right?
Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
#1 sugar daddy podcast.
Very religiously, and comments to her all the time on it. And so I call Amy. I'm like, hey, if your sugar daddy happened to reach out to somebody I know, would you be offended? And she goes, oh, you're talking about Lily? I already know about it. He tells me everything.
Well, that's why I asked at the beginning, why can somebody be offended unless you were somehow sneaky about it? Did he?
Right. No. Well,
Lily
I was
didn't
hesitant.
know.
I was hesitant for you to tell her.
Right.
I was
I didn't tell her.
don't know how to talk about this.
Yeah.
But we would have eventually had to talk
We would
about
have
it.
to.
The
We
whole
would have
point
to
of the
approach
sugar daddy world is to avoid the common stuff that bogs down marriages or
Right.
relationships, and you have it anyway.
But if Amy told me, I really, really care about this one, and I would prefer if my friend and coworker were not dating him also, I would have backed off for sure.
Okay. I mean, I think it's hard to find. I've had some girls that I've dated where their friend was like, no, he's with me. I'm like, I've barely talked to her. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, there's a lot of imaginary peeing on stuff like dogs. Like, this is ours.
Oh, marking,
men and women.
Marking of the
territory.
territory.
Marking the territory. It's like, no, I thought about him. I told you I liked him. Have at it. But who's this from? Lisa? Yeah. I think you put too much faith in your friend. There's very few 50-year friendships. I was listening to an interview with Paul Simon from Simon and Garfunkel. He's known Art Garfunkel since they were 10. They hate each other like 60 of the 80 years they've been in a fight. So I don't know how that. They're longtime friends, but there's huge gaps where they don't even talk. I don't know if dating would be fine then, but I don't know. I'm on the side of I put love before friendship, but maybe because I don't have that many close friends, or maybe that's why I don't have many close friends.
Maybe that's why.
So
you need to do a little self-reflection there.
And I think it really is different from the male perspective versus the female perspective.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I really think there's a
that's
huge
probably too
difference.
because there's a little bit of like girl code, like it's us against
Yeah.
them. Where I made the comment the other day. Sorry if anybody gets offended by this. Gay men love women. Gay women don't necessarily love men.
I love gay men. What does that mean?
Well, that's why gay men love
I just
women. But
want a gay
there's
best
more.
friend.
There's a little bit of an anti-man thing in the lesbian world that is not with gay men. Gay men love the women. Have you noticed that? You do notice that. It's a real thing.
Yeah, they do.
So a little bit of that even trickles down into just the heterosexual women world that are like, men are so generally awful to the gender that we kind of have to stick together. So I do see that. So it is different.
Yeah.
It does make sense. I actually saw a woman who was lesbian, and she was talking. She does construction. She was talking about how all of her coworkers are men, and that the way that they talk about women, when it's just them, is really awful. And so, I think that might have something to do.
And
with
I get it. That makes sense. All right, next one. This is from Shayna via our Facebook page. The one that got away from me was I stopped dating this wonderful man because he had shared custody of his daughter, who was 4 at the time, because I wanted someone to be with me and just me. Well, fast forward 14 years later, and now I'm the one with the kids and trying to date and trying to explain to potential guys and guys with potential that there is enough of me to go around, but none of them are as good as he was back then. That makes sense. If you're the one without the kids, it's really hard to be like, why can't you devote more time to me? Or you don't want to compete. That can easily flip in life.
I do feel that way. That's one of my deal breakers is if a guy has small children, I'm done my parenting and I don't want to parent anymore. I like to grandparent, I like to be.
Yeah, it's tough because you have to ask how old is the youngest, and then do the math on how long do I have to wait to get 90% of the time.
Right. Well, there's actually a gentleman that I reconnected with from my college days, and we really hit it off at our reunion. I absolutely love him. He's a great guy. I would pursue a relationship with him, except he's got a 10-year-old, and she really needs focus. She needs his focus.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the distraction from his kid. He has her most of the time.
Right. But he probably needs a distraction from his kid. But you're like, I want more.
Yeah, but
being the distraction is not a picnic
I would fall
either.
in love with him. If I spent more time with him, I would fall for him. He's
and
a
that's
really
not
great
worth
person.
it for you to get 60% of his attention for 7 more years?
I just know he can't. He's so busy with work, and he has some health concerns, and he has a small child, and he doesn't have time for a relationship right now. Now, maybe in 10 years, if I'm still single,
Well,
maybe.
Who knows?
Okay, so I personally have a very similar story. Both of the two people that I've taken very seriously in the last 2 years or so have had small kids. It's hard. I'm 21, so I have to think about that. Personally, I never really wanted my own kids. I always thought about
They all
adopting.
say that at 21.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I talked to my mom, and she's like, stop going for guys who have kids. And I'm like, why is it that they are so great though? I mean, come on, I can't help it.
They are. There's a sense of maturity and responsibility that comes with being a parent.
Yeah.
That does mature men a little bit quicker, or so they say. What do I know? But it does happen. But so you can see yourself, probably statistically, you're going to be on the flip side of that someday, where you're going to be the mom with a 5-year-old twins. I'm getting very specific here. And some guy's like, I don't want to deal with that. And you're like, no, I'm awesome. Let's go out,
It's so difficult. And I think, I don't know, it's a deal breaker for a lot of people. Personally, it has never been one for me. And I don't know if it's because I'm young and naive about it, but personally, I just can't see a red flag there. I think that's a green flag.
Yeah. Do you care if somebody has young kids?
Most
Want to date them?
Actually, most of me being older
Yeah.
and dating younger, like 20, 30s, and 40-year-olds, most have kids.
Right.
It's very rare.
Which is
that
why they
don't
need a
have
sugar
kids.
daddy.
Being a single mom is very
It's
difficult.
very expensive.
And expensive, yeah.
Yeah. You brought up you didn't necessarily, he had a 10-year-old. Is that what you said?
Yes.
It's one thing to be second in line to the 10-year-old, but then if you put career and then you're really third, that's a much bigger gap. That's harder to deal with.
Well, and also just health issues. There's a lot of health issues that he's also
So then he's
navigating, and he just needs to focus on himself and his career and his child. I don't want to be a distraction.
Get back with you when the kid is 17 and he's
Maybe.
fix the health issues. All right, 3 down, 3 to go. We got to take a quick break because we got to pay for some of these relationships and other, and we will be back right after this. And we are back, and I am here with Kimmy, Lily, and Marcus from Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the world's #1 sugar daddy podcast.
Sugar dating.
Sugar dating podcast.
And sugar daddy.
And sugar daddy. Since 2021.
Yeah, we are new, but we did vault up the charts pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost like a year into it, right? You're over a year. You're over a year into it.
Over a year, yeah.
Yeah, good. All right, next one. This is from Christopher from San Antonio. You're going to think this is terrible. Oh, I love this. I love these. You're going to think this is terrible, and I am an asshole, but the one that got away from me was someone who I thought didn't match the picture in my head. She was a different body type, different personality, different career, different everything than I always envisioned as my life partner. 7 years later, and I know that my vision was wrong, and she was absolutely the right one. She's married now, and I live with regret. When your reality exceeds your fantasy, sometimes that's tough to reconcile. Does that make sense? That sort of did.
Yeah.
A lot of women do this too. This is not this picture and then making the reality fit with the picture in your head. Sometimes you create a scenario of something is wrong when it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious on how long they actually dated. Did it say?
It doesn't say.
No, because...
Why would that matter?
Well, there's a difference. I've dated somebody for a month or two, and they were fantastic. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. You date somebody for 6-8 months to a year, you get to know them a lot better.
That's a good point,
and
too.
again, you come back to the point, like if this person got divorced and you started dating them, and once you got to know them, you might think differently once you get to know them in a deeper level.
I agree with that. I've said this about long distance relationships, and again, everything's got a chance to work, whatever. But if you live in Chicago and the person you're dating lives in San Francisco, and you're like, oh no, we see each other every other weekend. Well, that means you see somebody 20-something times in a year and almost always on weekends. Mm-hmm. Tuesday morning when you both have to work, that's dating. And when you get into the actual like minutia of day-to-day life and the stressors of job and career and everything, that's dating. A lot of people can do either, like you said, short term, or they can do sort of cherry picking. We go on trips all the time and we have the best time. That's not dating.
Well, that's why a lot of people turn to sugar dating is they don't.
They only want the sugar on top.
Yeah, they just want exactly the icing.
You know, I had a relationship that for 2 years where she was playing a role. Mm-hmm. She was always on her best behavior when we went out. We went out once or twice a week, and I always saw the good side of her. We never argued. We never disagreed about anything. She was playing a role. But then when it got serious and we started working towards marriage, everything changed. And I saw the good and the bad, and it wasn't so pretty.
I know. I've dated my fair share of actresses. It's hard to keep up the role, but some can and do,
Yeah.
and then suddenly and I get men can do that too. Men can be
Sure.
like, oh no, I don't do this and I don't do that, and then suddenly you find him in the basement with beer cans and gambling apps,
and they're playing video games just to the wee hours in the morning, and the significant others are getting very upset.
Right. I think you have to date somebody, all 4 seasons, 7 days a week, all the kind of thing, and see all
important.
the good and the bad. It is important, and a lot of people can sort of do that. Just like the guy at the beginning, like you were young and in your 20s, like she didn't know you didn't know her, any of that stuff. And this guy's like she, I always picture myself with a blonde and I want a redhead, and it doesn't match the picture. Well, that's a dumb mistake, and you should live with regret. That's your problem. Some of these we have sympathy for. I have no sympathy for you, for that guy. It's like, this isn't the one. I always thought I'd marry a doctor or whatever. Well, and I fell in love with the guy who delivered my UPS package. Well, that happens, and that's sweet, and I like that. And the amount of people who are like, this didn't check the boxes that I thought mattered. Your boxes probably didn't matter. The UPS box mattered. Kimmy, thoughts on this?
Personally, I don't have those types of issues.
But do you have pictures in your head of what you think you can and should be with, or you're just like...
Oh, she absolutely does. Yeah.
I absolutely do, and it's all justified. I don't think that I need a doctor or a lawyer per se, but I have a mindset of like success. Like, success is very important to me, and I would like that.
Well, how do you define success?
I would say freedom financially, so you can do what you want with who you want when you want.
Most people can do what they want with who they want when they want for a lot less money than you think. It's a little bit of how you do it, but most people,
there's like a sense of discipline that I like. I like the guy who wakes up early, who goes to the gym every day, who eats healthy, who cares. There's like what
if he's an artisan of coming? What if he's a glass blower? He gets up every day. He runs 10 miles. He goes to the studio. He blows glass. He's the best in the world at it. People love it. And he makes, I don't know, $70,000. Is that successful? He's successful in his mind. He's successful in his field. He's happy. So he's not going to come home and take his job out on you. He's got a creative mind. Is that a candidate for you?
I think that could work.
Okay. See?
Well, the fact that he's the best in the world.
He's the best glass blower. I don't know how much the best glass blower makes. I'm sorry I put a ceiling on it. Maybe. I don't know. I like the ice sculptor guy with the who suddenly does an eagle with a chainsaw. That guy's awesome. I'm not sure he's highly paid. But, he's successful. He's probably happy. He's fit. And he can buy you dinner any night you want. I mean, is that enough?
Can he?
Yeah, I think he can.
In this economy?
He can go to Chili's. You go to Chili's twice a week?
Applebee's.
You go to Applebee's. You good? Yeah, there you go.
I can't.
See, that's different then. Then you got to get the word success out of there, and you're getting into something else.
I think that there's a very specific thing.
If you're happy,
is not the word.
If you're happy, you're sipping a cocktails in a hammock, and it doesn't matter what he made.
Yeah. I don't think that money
Lily's like, fuck
really
that.
matters, but like I do want somebody
Depends on where the
who,
hammock. If the hammock is in Greece, then it's a better hammock.
Well, I've been married 3 times. So my checklist, if that's what you want to call it, involves what I don't want in a man.
Okay.
It's what I do want.
The number one thing
as well.
you don't want is what?
Oh my goodness, the number one?
Yeah.
Probably a girly man.
What?
Girly
I
man.
love girly
Ew,
men.
I can't. No, I'm
of your-
really drawn to strong masculine energy. And I can't.
Okay, the only
That pool's getting smaller.
Not be with a prissy.
None of your men are
Pretty
girly
boy.
men that I've seen.
Okay, well, everyone, the girls, the men,
Was the glass blower too feminine for you?
the men I have really liked and dated, people think that they could be gay because they are so put together. Like they like to dress nice, they like nice things, and I think that sometimes.
So they're
Do you
metro.
like competing for mirror time with the guy?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I like when I've had actually many partners where I'll be staring at in the mirror, and like they'll come up behind me and we'll just stare at ourselves in the mirror together.
Well,
And I'm like, wow, we look
that's
so good
success.
together.
All right, next one, and this might apply to you, Lily. This is from Mario from Danbury, Connecticut. I know where Danbury, Connecticut is. The one who got away was my second wife. Honestly, I'm now with my 4th wife. She's better than my first and blows away my last, but the second one, she was so good in bed, so good to hang with, so good to travel with, so good to simply be with. I thought I could find more and better, hence the next 2 marriages. They aren't her. I'm not sure anyone else will be.
Okay, definitely none of my ex-husbands are the one that got away, but I'm the one that got away from them. Right?
Do you think do you talk to all 3?
The last one I do, and he definitely compares his current relationship to me.
Is there one of the 3, and I'm sure they're not listening, is there one of the 3 that you're like, that was the best? Do you can get better, or are they getting better? You're getting closer to it? Or you're like, the first one was the best and it's gone downhill? Honestly.
I honestly can't compare any of them to each other.
You can.
They're also different.
You talk about your latest one the most, maybe because
We're
it's just
still
most
friends.
recent.
Yeah, we're still
How long
friends.
was each one?
It was like 6 years, 5 years, and the last one was 14.
Okay. So that was, but those are substantial. They're real relationships.
Yeah.
At any point in any of the 3, did you think this is going to go 50 years?
No.
No.
Well, okay, initially in the beginning, you always think that.
And how far into it do you know that it's probably not going to go 50? Is it 2 years?
It varies, but probably like 3 or 4.
Yeah. But you did 14.
Things start going downhill. Yeah. It was a little bit like a prison sentence.
I met this couple
at times.
I met this couple who they were both on their 3rd marriage, and they were very happy. And I asked them, why is this one so different than your first 2? And their answer was, our expectations were just unrealistic for the first 2. Mm-hmm. And so now we agree to disagree. We just come to, we see each other for those issues and try to change the things we can, and the other things we just live with. And they just got along so much better because of the first 2 experiences they had.
Does anybody mind? You've been married once?
I've been married once for 16 years.
Once for 16
and
years.
I knew it wasn't right after 30 days.
Oh, man. Well, you
Really?
put in the time.
I did not get married to give up on it. So we did everything we could to make it work.
Yeah, that's admirable. Does anybody think 3's too many? Does anybody have a problem with that? Like, you've been married 3 times, I don't want to be 4, or that nobody cares?
Oh, when I go on a first date and that comes up, and it invariably does, I'm always so apprehensive to tell people that I've failed at marriage 3 times. And most people are not judgmental about it. They are very understanding, and I think I'm harder on myself
It's kind of like
anyone.
tattoos. People who get more than 2 can go 7. It's sort of like that on marriages too. Over 2.
Oh dear God.
It's sort of like it's kind of open. I always question these wealthy men who get married 6 or 7 times and they have to write a giant check every time.
I don't get that.
I don't get that either. Like there's some people I'm like, oh my God, this is his 6th wife and he had to give her $20 million.
And they get
like,
married so quickly after meeting her.
They do.
That blows my mind.
I know. I saw an interview with Tommy Lee the other day, who's now on his 3rd wife, and they're like, "Did you think you'd get married again?" And his answer, which he probably should be, is like, "I didn't think I would met her." You know, so part of him was like, I checked it. Yeah, I mean, there was kind of a sweetness to that. Like, okay, I'm done after 2, or I'm done after 3, and then you still have a little bit of hope that the next one will be the last one.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm done with marriage, but if I met my person, my mind could change.
Right. You're done with marriage because you don't trust the institution, not that you don't want to be married to one person for 50 years.
Correct.
Right? Are you getting married there, Kimmy?
I think marriage is a business contract nowadays. I don't think that you necessarily need to get married on paper for, I want a wedding. I don't think that it's necessary.
Well, that's the thing, too. A lot of women want a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is the wedding. That's the destination. The house and the dog and the white picket fence, he's not even on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't
you one time say you were going to marry yourself?
Oh, I still will.
I know some people who've done that. They've been on this podcast. I think they are, what's the word for it? Insane?
Kooky?
No,
kooky? Why do you have to, what does that even mean?
So I would love to have a wedding, and I think that there are a lot of things in life that you can do, and the people that you are with can ruin it. And like, for example,
like a groom at a wedding.
Yeah, that is what I mean. In a way, with my ex, we traveled a lot, and I went to so many different places, and I feel like none of them. Being in the best place with the wrong person, it just completely diminishes all of the good of the place.
That.
Well, you said that if you asked her that question, when did you know it wasn't going to go a long time? Would she have is that something you've talked about with her? Where it was like, no. Huh.
She was on a completely different level.
But is there some comfort? Have you talked about like we really tried and we gave it a go?
Yeah, we did therapy. We did all kinds of workshops.
Well, that's good.
I did not get married to have it be short term. And unfortunately for me, it was checking a box. I felt like I settled, and I checked a box, and I'm like, okay, now I'm married, let's move on. And to my fault, or at least she made it sound like it was my fault, I didn't contribute enough to the marriage. And I found myself kind of lying to do things that I wanted to do, like go play golf.
Yeah.
Simple thing like, hey, I want to go play golf with my friends after work. Well, if I asked her to do that, it would be a big fight. So then I started taking a chance, like gambling. Maybe I can get away with it.
Yeah.
And then I got caught a few times and then just created a big fight. But I was gambling that maybe she wouldn't know, because if I asked her, it was going to be a fight. If I didn't ask her, it was going to be a fight. So either way, I'm in a fight.
I know. That's true.
So on the day you got married, you felt you were settling?
No, I think he says he felt like this is what I'm supposed. How long were you dating before you got married?
10 months.
Well, that's not that long.
No.
Yeah, 10 months. And it was a unique situation. She was, not to get too deep into it, but she was from Canada, and her ex-husband got remarried to a non-U.S. citizen. They revoked my ex-wife's green card, and they said, you got to leave the country in 2 weeks. Well, she was about to close on a house. She had a great job. We were dating. So we go to the office, and they said, the INS office, and they looked at us and go, well, how long have you guys been dating? I said, well, 10 months. And she looked at us and said, you ever thought about getting married? And 2 days later, we drove to Vegas and got married.
Right. And that story 99 times out of 100 would be like, and then a year later we got divorced.
Right.
You did the time. So good for you.
Yeah, and I loved her, and we had some great times. But as you live with somebody and you get to know somebody, she liked reading books in the sunroom. Mm-hmm. I liked going to concerts and being active and doing things. I liked living life, and she would just rather stay home. Like, there was this great concert in town. It was Jewel. She plays guitar and just melody. Her voice is just so great. And I wanted to go see her, and I surprised my ex-wife with tickets, and she got mad at me. And because she'd just rather stay home and read a book and watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So I went to the concert by myself. That was almost the end of it. Yeah. That was the end of it.
All right. Last one here. This is from, I'll save the name for the end. The one that got away for me is lots of ones. Seemingly every guy gets away. They're all great. I'm not one of those girls who thinks every man sucks. I'm the opposite. I would marry almost every single guy I have ever dated for more than 3 dates. I instantly fall in love, and I don't think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I see only the good and never the bad, but isn't that better than the opposite? Eventually, they all want more or different or better, and they all dump me or ghost me or leave me, but that doesn't make me like them less. It makes me want them more. And that is from Penelope the Abandoned.
Penelope.
Oh, Penelope.
We need some serious therapy.
I like the glasses half full, though. Like, there is a sense of optimism. She's not like, I'm tired of getting hurt. She's like, eventually I'll hit the right card. What is...
You know, the more times at bat.
I know. I think that's not the worst way to look at it, right?
I think Penelope needs some therapy. This is an absolute terrible story.
You think? See, I just find a sweetness in this.
No, it's terrible. She's just dealing with all this rejection.
But she keeps shooting at the basket, and eventually she's going to get one. I mean, part of me thinks we hear so often that all men suck and all that. So if I know, maybe she's glutton for punishment, and this probably has some childhood issues and blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. I kind of like this.
The unfortunate or the thing that I derive from this is there's one common factor, and that's Penelope.
Yeah.
So I would work on bettering myself.
Why are they dumping you?
Yeah. Why become a better person? There's so many resources. Are you a little bit overweight? Start working on that. Your diet, the gym. Start educating yourself on other subjects. And again, I talk about YouTube all the time because I think it's one of the greatest resources that we have. Is you can type in these feelings. As a matter of fact, to this letter that you wrote in, why am I not successful with men? You're going to find answers to that question from many people.
Is there a part of what she's doing on dates that doesn't make these guys feel special because she seemingly feels this with everybody and they can pick up on that?
Maybe she's over exuberant and she's a bad listener. Maybe she's trying too hard.
There could be many things.
There could be many things. But I think, the answer probably lies with, I would look like, why are these guys pulling the parachute? Are they all 22?
Yeah, that's why I said therapy. Talk to somebody and get to the root of the problem.
Kimmy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that she probably has some... I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to get into it, I'm sure you're very sweet.
We're not giving advice here. We're giving opinion.
Sweet. My opinion, I think that you should definitely work on yourself. I think that you may have low self-esteem sometimes because, it's...
A little bit, yeah. You're taking for granted the fact that you're getting dumped all the time. It's sort of like somebody gets used to the abuse. You're getting used to the pain and like tuning it out. I'm just going to roll with it next. I get it. So there's some upside in you thinking men are great, but you can't think the men are great after they dump you if you feel good enough about yourself that you shouldn't be dumped. So you must be looking at, you're looking at something the wrong way here.
Yeah.
Well, and she may be a little codependent, too, if this is her entire focus of her entire life.
That's true. She doesn't care. It's like game musical chairs, and all she needs is a chair, and they all are equally comfortable. Yeah, that's bad, too. Yeah. So you got to raise the bar. The first time you date a guy and you're like, actually, he sucked, that's going to be a good thing for you. Like, man, I found the loser.
I can never find the winner. My thing is, like, I come across all these people, and then it's like, I'm on the very opposite end. Not to say I don't respect or like them as people, but like it's just there's too much missing every time.
We get a lot of the opposite of this, where every guy I date turns into be an asshole or a narcissist or a cheater. We get that a lot. So there's a little bit of refreshing change of pace from Penelope, but yeah, it's not healthy. All right, this is Mark has been on this podcast before. We're still going to let him do it again. As you guys probably know, we play something called Worst Date or First Date. So we're going to start with Lily. You have to give us either the worst date you've ever been on or the greatest first date you've ever been on. Your choice.
Oh, my goodness. This is a challenge. There's so many options. So I did a meet and greet one time, and literally the guy looked nothing like his profile picture. He was probably at least 250 pounds overweight.
250 pounds over what he should be.
I don't know.
So he wasn't 250.
Okay.
He was 250 above something.
He was like 3 of you.
Oh, God, that's bad.
So how many pounds would that be?
Yeah, a lot of me. Yeah.
Yes.
600 pounds.
And
That's crazy.
I felt like I was talking to a tree the entire date. He was very unresponsive. I don't know if I was intimidating. I had to carry the entire conversation, and this was not just a coffee. This was an actual full-fledged dinner. It was miserable.
Yeah. What did he eat?
Oh my gosh.
You told me.
He did. He ate his entire ginormous meal, and then I'm kind of a small eater, so I usually take home something, and he ate the rest of mine.
Oh.
And then he wanted dessert, and I was like, I gotta go. I don't have time for dessert.
Oh.
Yeah,
man.
he spoke to the waiter, but not to me.
Okay.
It was so awkward.
Yeah.
Well,
Check,
because
please.
she was bringing him food.
Well, there you go. Yeah, you want to.
Yeah.
It's
You
like
should have brought some food.
I
Yeah.
was like, I used to have a thing for bank tellers, and they're like, they're giving you money. I'm like, oh, that must be it.
Yeah.
Pavlovian response. Kimmy, you're next. Worst date or first date?
I'll do first date
Okay.
just
Good.
because I'm still in a love spell,
Okay.
even though it's completely over, but it's okay. We'll talk about
I
it.
met this glass blower, and we sat in a hammock. No?
No.
Close.
All right. Spill it.
All right. So I met this guy a long time ago. This is one thing that I talked to Lily about, and I really enjoy men who don't make a move. I like when guys are like cordial.
That's
but
why you date the gay guys.
all right now.
She
Not
likes
too
a guy
much.
that plays hard to get.
Okay.
So yeah, I like guys who play hard to get. And so this guy, we only ever talked about business, which was wonderful because every time we talked to each other, we kind of brought each other up in a way. Like I motivated him, and he would be like, he would let me know. He was like, it's very rare I talk to somebody and I feel more motivated than I already am because most people don't understand. And, just things like that. And he also motivated me. He was very accomplished and everything. And so we would only ever talk about business. And that went on for almost a year, which was crazy. But I was super attracted to him. And he was probably really attracted to me because,
And so he didn't make a move for a year?
No.
That's called my gay friend.
No, but okay. It was mostly online, right? He lived somewhere far from me. I lived in another state. We ended up actually both moving here. And so then we went on our first real date.
Yeah, and then
And it was wonderful. Well, I think
so
I made
it's
a move.
easy to not make a move when you're not in the same state.
Yeah, but you would be surprised. I get a lot of people who do make moves right away and they live very far, and even people in, Dubai, a lot of people in Dubai for whatever reason, but who, are like, I'll fly you out. You're so beautiful. The only compliments I ever got were on my personality and my, just drive. That's all. Okay. And that was really also attractive. And so
that's a good move.
I know.
That is making a move.
So our first date,
subtle.
He asked me to dinner, and I was like, oh my gosh. And we had never, we've hung out twice. It was all cordial, and he asked me to dinner, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's our date. We're going on a date. I slept through my alarm for the date.
Oh.
She missed the dinner date.
You missed the dinner date.
I missed it.
Yeah, see.
Was he there waiting for you? I can't remember.
No, he wasn't. We were supposed to meet at his house, which is great.
So I'm going to have him on. He's going to talk about his worst date, and it's going to be you.
It's going to be me. And for more than that reason, because
Yeah.
But anyways, we won't.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then I got to his place. I met his business partner for the first time. He was super kind. Even his cousin was at his place. What
kind of date is this?
Well, I
Bunch
mean,
of dudes there?
It was a group date.
Group date?
yeah.
Okay.
But it was wonderful. We all just had a great time. The vibes were so good. I felt like at home. It was the weirdest thing. Everything felt wonderful. We went to the Beverly. I confessed my likings for him.
That's right across the street here.
Told him that I think that I've always just felt in a weird way that he's going to be my husband. And he just kind of went with it.
Yeah. He remembers the alarm clock. Yeah. All right. Well, that's kind of sweet.
Super sweet, yeah.
And where is he now?
You know, so I did mess that up a little bit. I mean, I had to do social media for work, and I also had an agency and other things. There were some things that I did not disclose. I had like TikTok videos with this other guy, and he ended up seeing them, and like we were doing like couple challenges and stuff, even though we weren't actually a couple. It was just for like, you know, social media isn't real. It really isn't.
Okay, that's a tough one to
So
explain.
if my husband's listening, just know that was not real. He should come back.
I don't know that girl's hand I'm holding. It's not real. We're playing a part. Back to playing roles. All right, you're up again, Marcus.
Well, last time my story was about my date who got arrested by the U.S. Marshals for kidnapping.
That's correct.
But another parallel one, I was in Vegas. I'll try to make this short, playing the World Series of Poker. Main event, $10,000 buy-in. I have my cash in a bag. She's so drunk at the bar. I put my bag on the chair, the bar chair, and I literally have to carry her out of the casino back to the hotel room, which is down the strip. She passes out on the bed. I'm looking around for my bag. It's not there.
Oh, no.
I left it at the bar at a casino with my $10,000 cash buy-in to the World Series of Poker main event. It's a Friday night. It's so busy. It takes me an hour to get back over there because of traffic. I am sweating bullets. I go back to the bar. The bag's not there.
Of course not.
Of course it's not. I look at the bartender, and I'm like, hey, did you see this bag here? Did you pick up a bag? He looks around. He goes, no. He goes, oh, were you with that really drunk girl earlier?
That doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, but in this case, it did.
Yeah.
Because she was making an absolute fool of herself. And so he points me over to security. I go over to security, and the guy says, well, what did you have? I said, a bag. He types in, like, backpack. He goes, well, no, we didn't have anything. And then he's like, wait, what color was it? And I said, it was brown. And he literally pulled it from beside his chair and said, is this it? And I look at it. I was like, yeah, that's it. I look in there. All the cash is still there.
So is
What?
this the best date or the worst date?
Well,
Because I feel like it's both.
It's
That's
a little
unbelievable.
bit of both.
It's like winning $10,000.
It's like
back.
winning and losing at the same time. Yeah.
How did the bag get to him?
Somebody turned it in. They
And
found
didn't
it.
look in it?
Apparently, they did not.
That was a miracle in Vegas.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's one.
So what happened with the girl?
Well, so the next day, we went out.
You
and
almost cost me 10 grand.
Yeah, she got drunk again, Tito's and soda, and yeah, that was pretty much the end of that. She just did not know when to say when.
All right.
Unfortunately, but it was fun.
This was fun, you guys. Moral of the story, bottom line, lots of them are going to get away. It only takes one. Focus on that one.
Yes.
Tell everybody where they can find the podcast and what the podcast is.
You can find it on Apple, Spotify, our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com, where we expose the good, the bad, and the shocking sides of sugar dating.
All right. This was fun. As far as us and Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, as always, like, share, follow, and please review these podcasts. Your reviews mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem. Shoot us an email, greatlovedebate@gmail.com, if you've got questions, comments, thoughts, or we might do another round of these because you guys sent a whole bunch, the one that got away. Go to our website, greatlovedebate.com. Our next upcoming live show, the tour is back on tour. The tour is on tour. City Winery, Boston, Massachusetts, September 21st. Tickets are on sale now. It's always fun when we do a show in Boston. Looks like we're doing a show in Croatia. So those details are probably going to come in the next. Have you guys been to Croatia?
No.
They say it's all.
never.
They say it's all the rage. Anyway, the Great Love Debate in Croatia, and then we are rescheduling and doing the Great Love Debate out on the Virgin cruise ships. I'll have details for that too, or they'll be on our website, greatlovedebate.com. Because as always, at the Great Love Debate, we never stop making love. See you next time.